It's a national game, and it's very important. This is regardless of the regime or politics, so we try to put the politics away.
This team is supporting Islamic regime, and people, they don't like the Islamic regime.
Iranian Americans divided ahead of Iran's World Cup match in Los Angeles. Despite news of a tentative peace deal between the U.S. and Iran, the war is still adding to a charged atmosphere around the game. The squad touched down on U.S. soil yesterday from their base camp in Mexico. They're only allowed to enter into the U.S. a day before each of their matches. Let's turn to James Dorsey, the author of The Turbulent World of Middle East Soccer. He's with the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies. James, good morning to you.
David, good to be with you.
So much of this, James, just seems bonkers. What are we to make of the fact that the Americans won't even let the Iranians come into the country until about 24 hours before the match in order to play?
The Americans have not been very welcoming, and not just to the Iranians. I mean, the Iranians are in Mexico rather than in the United States, first and foremost, because 15 of their staff members were not granted visas. And the visa issue has been with an Iraqi photographer who's attached to the Iraqi national team. We saw the issue with the Somali FIFA referee, who was not allowed entry into the country. So by and large, for a fair number of countries, the United States has not been a welcoming host.
And yet, it doesn't mean the scrutiny is solely on the Americans. I mean, this has come up time and time again, the issue of sport washing. Do countries look better because they put up a team on a world stage when it comes to sport? We've talked about it with Russia and the Olympics. Let's talk about it with Iran and soccer. Should they be allowed to play? Some would ask.
I'm not a great fan of the concept of sports washing. I think it's a self-serving concept for human rights activists, for other activists. But by and large, many of these countries who are accused of sports washing don't really care what their image is with regard to human rights. The Saudi crown prince said it himself. He said he couldn't care less as long as it contributed to GPD. So essentially, the question of whether or not countries should be allowed to play really goes into a much broader question of how do you deal with countries that have abominable records of abuse of human rights or are undemocratic. It's a very slippery slope.
And the complication that there are people connected to Iran's team who are themselves connected to the IRGC, which is in many ways the entity engaged in war against the Americans, the host nation for this World Cup tournament.
I think that's the whole twist of a host country hosting teams with which it is at war. The problem with the IRGC is it's basically Iran's military force. It was formed, and I remember that very well because I was there. It was formed because the revolutionaries had good reason not to trust the Shah's army. And for all practical matters, despite the fact you have the Quds Force, which has been engaged in political violence outside of the country, there's no question about it. But for all practical matters, it is Iran's major military force. And another reason why it is that because of sanctions that have basically been in place almost since the beginning since the revolution in 1979, Iran has adopted asymmetric forms of warfare rather than conventional forms of warfare.
I want to look at Los Angeles, the LA area, not only hosting this game between Iran and New Zealand, but also home to a large number of Iranian Americans, many of whom are very opposed to the regime back in Iran. What would you expect out of that crowd? Because it's in some ways dueling or competing interests.
Well, again, coming back to your first question about visas, the Iranian fan presence in the stadium is going to be the diaspora, many of them living in Los Angeles. It's not going to be primarily fans from Iran, many of whom have been barred entry into the United States. I think one of the litmus tests to look out for during this match is whether or not the Iranian fans, the diaspora fans, are going to raise symbols, flags of the former regime of the Shah. That's something they wanted to do. FIFA has banned it as an expression of politics, but nonetheless, we'll have to see whether or not that ban is enforced.
James Dorsey, very much appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.